Hello, and welcome back to today, day 2 in the Joy Power Up. I am loving all of the responses that I have had in our private Telegram, also in my DMs, all around how much day 1 of the Joy Power Up has really inspired you to ask that question, are you on your plate? I ask the question, what's on your plate and are you on it? Are you on it, your health and your joy? Health and the health of your body is a key foundational ingredient for what I believe is the recipe for joy. It has been for me, for absolute certainty. And today I want to talk about the second part, the second ingredient, and it's actually another second foundational ingredient. It's often the one that I talk to and speak about the most, and it is all about your mind. To me, the second ingredient that you're going to put into that recipe for joy in your life and to amplify the joy in your life so that you can attract more, so that you can become that super attractor for more in your life of whatever you want more of, is all about having peace of mind. Peace of mind. So my question for you today, for you to ponder on as I share some of these additional stories to help you understand the workings of your mind, is what's going on in your beautiful mind. Because our minds are such incredible places to be when they are beautiful. And one of the biggest things that I have learned over the course of, I suppose, the last maybe decade, when I got incredibly fascinated with the mind, because I got very interested in the mind because my mum was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in 2004. It was the year before we got married. My parents didn't tell us because they didn't want that to mask anything or the joy that was happening on our wedding day, but my mum was acting kind of strange. So in some ways I wish they had. But when I came back from then, and when I started to watch the disappearance of my mum, every time I saw her, she became a former shadow of herself. It was like grieving every single time that I saw her. A part of her would disappear. I wanted to understand the brain so much more, understand it, to understand if I was going to have it, because my granny had it in her 70s. She was diagnosed in her 70s and died in her 80s. My mum was diagnosed in her 60s and died in her early 70s. And I thought, gosh, if this continues on a trend, I do not want this to happen to me. I do not want to be diagnosed in my 50s and die in my 60s. And given that I'm 50 in less than 6 months, this was really important for me. The health of my mind, I started to understand, was created in my 30s and in my 40s. And it's so important to keep our brains sharp and alive and alert. So I was like, what can I do? And that's really what started me off. When I was given 6 months of gardening leave, that's what I went off to go in and learn all about, the intricacies of the mind. At that point in time, I had 2 small children and my mum was no longer my mum. So it was like I was so invested in understanding what was going on in the mind. And that was really the foundation of what started to bring me so much joy. And it's why I went on to become a mindfulness coach, a meditation tutor, and understand so much more about the mind. I've got so many books on my bookshelves about the mind. What I understand, and having started kind of my career in coaching, and initially a lot of it was around mindfulness, sharing my journey of how meditation found me rather than me finding it or understanding it. I was lying under the trees when my mum was dying and just allowing myself to look at the movements of the trees. And that really helped me ground into myself and breathe and not worry too much into the future or worry too much about the past. It just centered me in the moment. And I understand that that's really what mindfulness and meditation was all around. I then went on to teach a lot of people meditation and mindfulness, and I became very known for helping people understand and calm the mind. And still, a lot of my clients come to me because they're feeling overwhelmed. They use words like overwhelm and stress and pressure and brain fog, tension, all of these words. Mental health became such a big thing in lockdown, and I was so proud to be part of that movement to help people understand their minds and calm their minds in some of those really high, intense, pressured times. What I recognize now is that there's a different flavor to it. I love to talk about pressure in terms of it being a privilege. I love to talk about the fact that I know I put the pressure on myself, and I always have done. Whenever I feel that element of pressure, whenever I feel that element of stress, whenever I feel that level of overwhelm, I take ownership and responsibility for me. I'm doing that to myself. And that is an absolute privilege, because it's my passion that causes me to feel that way. So it's about, I take that and I own it. And I understand now that stress, and whenever I've ever been stressed in my life, whenever stress has caused me to burn out, I've always recognized that this has been a catalyst for such change. I didn't burn out, I burnt through. I was on fire. I didn't burn out, I broke through. All of this is about seeing this from different angles and different perspectives. And it's the narrative that was happening in my mind that was telling me that I was overwhelmed, that I was stressed, that I was under pressure, that I was overwhelmed. And I started to see this as, no, this is my gift. I get to use this in a very, very different way. The stress was creating diamonds. The stress was creating wonder. The burnouts was creating radical change that I needed so much in my world. Hello, Helen. How are you? Lovely to see you. I'm so pleased you're here. So it's about, I want to lift the lid on the mind, and I want you to lift the lid on your mind, and I want you to see it as a beautiful place. I want you to create it as a beautiful place to be, so that when you hear those words, what's going on in your beautiful mind? I keep hearing that song. I want you to have the reminder of, you have a beautiful mind and you get to create that beautiful mind. I don't know about you, but I'm in my mind an awful lot. You know, that there's been heightened levels of awareness of mental health and ADHD and all of the different, I've lost the word now, neurodiversities. It's understanding that we are all living in our heads a lot of the time. But how can we make that beautiful? How can we harness the power of our beautiful mind? And you may or may not have heard me say it before, but our minds are incredible assets. They are incredible tools for us. And our minds are so powerful because they can either fuck us up or they can fire us the fuck up. And I have said that, and so many F-bombs, I'm so sorry in that word, but I really want to emphasize that. Our minds are incredible, powerful assets for us to harness, and to make it beautiful means that we can live that beautiful life that we're all craving to live. Now I've gone wildly off tangent off my notes, so I must come back and harness myself here. So that's right. I want to lift the lid on our beautiful minds to help you create that beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mind. So it all started with the fascination of my mum and her Alzheimer's, and understanding the brain and the mind and how we can look after the health of our brains. And that was incredibly important. It was also important for me, and actually the foundation of everything that I'd learned while my mum had Alzheimer's and I was learning about that became the foundation for me, because I ultimately did lose my mind. I completely lost it. I was diagnosed in 2016 with PTSD from traumatic events. I was diagnosed with clinical depression. I had insomnia because my brain just would not switch off, and I could not understand the past and I couldn't understand the future. And because of that, I also had disordered eating. So everything was a mental health crisis in my life. I lost my mind in its entirety. And I had to not necessarily find my mind, but what I did do is I started to create a beautiful mind to live in, to live with, to start to see life through a very, very different way. And that's when I really started to understand meditation and mindfulness. And everything that I learned and the courses and the qualifications that I took, I started to embody those and live by what I was learning to create this beautiful mind, become very, very aware of it. You know, and I distilled everything that I had learned in these year-long, 2-year-long courses into 5 very simple steps, and I wrote my own program for people to take. I wrote 2. I wrote one in lockdown called Calm for Life, which was all about using the acronym BREATHE to remind people in lockdown and in a pandemic and in a very, very busy time to just use the power of the breath, which ultimately is meditation, intentional mindfulness using the power of the breath. And this is how I used Calm for Life and created calm in lockdown. It was wonderful. I love writing that program. Subsequently, what I wanted to do was then really help people understand the key concepts of mindfulness and simplify it, because we were going back out into the world again. We were going back out into our busy lives. We were seeing people and socializing and back into businesses. And I wanted people to understand that meditation and mindfulness wasn't just about sitting down in a chair and omming. It was about using and harnessing the power of meditation and mindfulness for very, very busy women just like me, who had very, very busy minds, who didn't have time to do that. It wasn't about stopping my thoughts. It was about being aware of my thoughts and understanding them. And that's where that phrase about the F-bombs came from. How your mind can really fire you up or fuck you up. That's where that came from, that very first principle. And I wrote a program based on those 5 concepts. The first one being awareness and acceptance of what's going on is the first concept. The second one is then witnessing it and seeing it with compassion and without judgment. And if you can find compassion for yourself and your beautiful mind and not be judgmental on yourself, then you're going to be able to show up and give that to other people. And that is how we create a beautiful life. The third is all about forgiveness. Forgiveness was so critical in my path and in my journey. Forgiving my mistakes, forgiving others who had caused the PTSD and the clinical depression in my life. Forgiveness for myself, forgiveness for others was never about condoning the actions that I took or others took. It was more about letting it go so that I could live with that peace. And then the fourth concept was very much around this presence of peace, this ability to find gratitude in every moment, even when it's hard. And the final concept, the Big 5 Calm concept, was very much around looking at all of the wisdom. What can I take from this? If I'm not winning, I'm learning. I love that. I'll take that from one of my clients. That's what she says. But it's really understanding that every single lesson, every single part of our life is a gift. And that is the gift, is to be able to find that gift for our minds to take and to chew on and to use and to learn and to embody. Now, the programs I've just talked about now are accessible and you can use them anytime. They are in the Love Club library. I'll talk a little bit about the Love Club later, but if you're intrigued to know more about mindfulness and meditation and to really distill it into key concepts and to use every single day, they're all in the Love Club. They're all in the Love Club library, along with all of my hundreds of meditations. Now, I have recorded hundreds of meditations over the course of the last 7 years, and they were all on YouTube. But my YouTube channel got hacked last week and it's never going to be resurrected. So fortunately, they are all in the Love Club library in this beautiful album that my team has created for me. So that's where you will find those as well. Beautiful meditations that have helped so many people, including myself. I often write them for myself in order to help others as well. I digress. So simplifying the concepts of mindfulness in order to live with this beautiful mind has been so incredibly powerful for me. And what I realized as I was learning about mindfulness, the theory of mindfulness, what I recognized is that it was not that far away from what I had been doing in my primary career, my first career. For those of you who don't know, hello, I'm Ali. I am once upon a time an IT consultant where I used to code and recode systems to function better in the retail industry. And now I'm turned a life coach and joy coach, where I help people reprogram their hearts and their minds to function better. That's my little intro spiel that I often use when I'm introducing myself to people. What I recognize is what I was doing in my corporate career was very, very similar to what I'm doing and how I help people now. When I was working in my corporate career, I used to be responsible for writing code, taking systems. If you're thinking about it, it was back in the 1990s and it was coming into the noughties, which was huge in e-commerce. It was a very, very exciting time. It was where we were putting in systems that started to speak to each other in this special computer coding language that we used to write, that I was taught in. And it was about how did this system talk to that system? How did the shop systems talk to the head office systems? And I used to have to take an old brick of a phone, if you remember those, overnight, because overnight the systems would talk to each other. They're not like they are now when they happened in real time. You always have to wait an overnight for systems to update. And if pieces of code did not translate from one system to the other, my phone used to ring. And I used to have to get up in the middle of the night and get out my big old brick laptop, and I used to have to decipher on a black and green screen which part of the code had caused the system to fail over, to stop functioning, to stop speaking to each other. And then I would go in and find the piece of code, or I would find the character, or add in something that was missing, and then I would restart it and off it would go again. This was all about finding what wasn't working and improving it. And now I do something very, very similar in life. Because what I see is that people are living their lives and then suddenly things start to fail over, things stop, or people feel stuck, or they feel like they're stuck in Groundhog Day. They're not moving, they're not getting the information across to where they want to be. They cannot cross the bridge from where they are to where they want to be. And they feel like they're in a holding pattern and they are stuck. And this is typically because the code in the primary system in your brain is not wired for change. It's not wired for you to get to where you want to be. One of my favorite quotes when I was learning mindfulness, and I learned mindfulness in many programs, but also through many books. And one of my favorite books was The Power of Now. You may have heard of it. It was by Eckhart Tolle. It is by Eckhart Tolle. And one of my favorite quotes in that was, our primary cause of unhappiness is not the situation itself, but is our thoughts about the situation. And that really struck a light bulb with me. It was like, oh my goodness. You know, I was sat there with nothing and I was so desperately unhappy. I'd walked away from a career that I had loved and worked hard for. I had been heartbroken. I was on my own with 2 small children. My health was gone, my mum had died, and all my thoughts were about how sad everything was and the situation. I was like, I just want to be happy again. And I started to prime my mind with happiness rather than sadness. And this is where I first started to recognize the importance of recoding myself and how important the thoughts were that were playing on my mind and how I perceived my situation. You know, it's our mind, our brains, our thoughts, our beliefs, our belief systems. Those are our codes in our incredible brain, which is an incredible computer. And there I am back in my consulting days, back in my coding days. You know, when I used to write code, it was all set on sorry, I've lost my train of thought there. Every time I would write code, it was always based on a certain set of conditions. That's the word I was looking for. It would always say, if X or Y, then do B or C. If X is greater than, then do blah. A whole set of conditions. And our minds have exactly the same condition set. And those are based on stories that we've had, on past experiences, on conditioning from maybe a grandparent, a parent, from a friend, from society, that we feel that if something happens in our life, then we do this. Once you've done this, then do that. But if this is not working, if this is not working for us, then everything fails over. Just like pick up the phone. And that's when a lot of people do pick up the phone and they say, Ali, please help me. Can you help me recode my brain? And that's what I do now. As I said, historically, I used to get out my big old laptop and rewrite some code. Hold on one second, I just need to take a drink, sorry. So the failover in human life, rather than failing over in a system life, is when we can often find ourselves slipping into the stress response. And you've probably heard about the stress response, right? You know that it's fight, flight, fawn, or what's the other one? Freeze. There we go. Fight, oh my goodness, I can't say it. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And if you can bring awareness to the fact that you failed over and slipped into that stress response, where fight is when you've found yourself in a hustle mode, I have to, you're pushing through, you're determined, you're fighting. I found myself a couple of weeks ago in the fight, in the hustle. I was like, I'm not feeling it, but I know I have to do this. I was launching my program at the time, master course at the time, and I had to do this, and I've got to do that, and I've got to send this email, and I've got to do this by this date. And I was like, I'm hustling, I'm fighting, and this does not feel good to me. I'm in a stress response. I'm pushing through. This is not right. I'm coding myself to act in a certain way that does not feel good for me. How do I make this beautiful? That was the question I asked myself. Freeze. When you're just stuck. I'm stuck here, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't do nothing. Or actually, maybe I'm just going to avoid it altogether and I'm going to put my head in the sand. Bring that level of awareness and recognize that there's something that needs to be changed. What's going on in that beautiful mind? How can I make it beautiful again? The flight is all about fleeing. It's when you want to run away, or you are running away, or you're avoiding what's staring at you, but yet it never really goes away when you're running away. And you're probably finding that you're getting utterly exhausted because running from something you're trying to avoid is going to last forever until you stop and look at it and face it and ask it what's going on. And the fawning, this is a really interesting one. Fawning is obviously the fourth F to make it easy to remember, but the fawning is when you're over people pleasing. It's when you're trying to please everybody else, but not yourself. It's when you're trying to keep the peace around you, but when there's a war raging within inside of you. This is when you know that you have failed over and flipped into that stress response, when everything doesn't feel right. This is when you need to get into your mind and recognize that it is your most powerful asset and tool that you can use to create change. Nothing will change until you recode the part that is not working for you right now. Oh, Helen, I don't know what you mean. I'm really sorry. Do you something, children, teenagers? I don't understand. If you want to ask me that question, please do so. I'll come back and answer it. I'm not sure. So when you're feeling, or even if it has, sorry, I've just lost my train of thought then. We're talking about the fact that when you've failed over, you've slipped into that stress response, and you recognize that you're in fight, freeze, flee, or fawn. If you don't recognize that, then ask yourself, is everything feeling hard? Because if it's feeling hard, then this is when you know that something needs to change and that you're in failover. You should be in flow. Just like those systems used to talk to each other in flow. Data would flow and everything was moving. If you're feeling that everything is hard and everything is forced, it's about just saying there's something not quite right with my computer because this should be flowing. So let's go in and deep dive and lift the lid on my brain and find out what's not going on. Because what I know, that peace of mind ultimately is one of the foundational pieces for creating a life of joy. But ultimately as well, that peace of mind is finding and replacing what's going on in your mind that's making everything feel and seem hard. Helen, I'm really sorry, I don't understand the full sentence. Do you mind just asking me? Or pop into the Telegram group and I will be more than happy to answer that. I'm just going to keep going. Either pop the question in here and I'll come back, or come into the Telegram group where we're continuing this conversation and personalizing it. I'd love to have you in there. And if you want to join that Telegram channel, then all of the links are in my bio, or just drop in my DMs and I'll give you that, and I will give you the details to join. So going back to when it's hard, when it feels like it's really, really hard, we want to get ourselves back into that flow state. One of the things I've really understood is that our brain is wired to keep us safe. It's our protection mechanism. And it's almost a bit like a dog with a bone. We've got a new puppy, you've probably seen it. Or he's very cheeky and he never wants to let go. He's like, no, 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 I've got this and I'm not going to let go. This brain of ours is incredibly powerful because it wants to keep us safe. It wants certainty. It wants to know what to do. It wants to know the strategies. It wants to know the top tips. It wants to know exactly what to do. And it wants to know the answers of how, what, when, why, where, and how, and who. All of those it wants to know. And it's just going to be a dog with a bone until it's got it. It's going to search back into our psyche, into our memories, and all of the evidence that it's got. Remember, it's a coded system, and it's going to go way back in to go and try and find the answers of what did I do when that happened last time? Let me do that again. It's going to create a path forward for you based on evidence that you have got already programmed into your mind, whether that's been a lesson that you have lived yourself, whether it's been an experience that you have lived with yourself, or a story that you've heard from somebody. Your great granny who's told you the story of what happened when exactly. It's not necessarily always looking back. It's about understanding on how can I move forward, and what is the code or the different code that I can put in there instead to create a different outcome. One of my other favourite quotes has always been, brain surgeons can't do brain surgery on themselves, which is one of the reasons why I have my own coaches, mentors and therapists to help me, because I know sometimes I can't find the bit of code that's not working, that's making me hustle to fight or to stop or to freeze or to fawn. It's like, what am I not seeing? What's behind here that I can't see? Can you tell me? Can you hear me? Can you see me? You know, our brain is going to keep on working. It creates fail safes for us to keep us safe. It's protection from disappointment. It's protection from ridicule. It's protection from failure. We don't want to be perceived as a failure. It's protecting us from so many things, and it's going to keep on working to do, because that's its job. People often say to me, I need to change my mindset then. And here's a different perspective. I do not like the word mindset, and you will never hear me say anymore, I think I used to call myself a mindset coach, but I'm not a mindset coach because I don't believe in mindsets. What I know is that our brain is a beautiful, ever-changing, morphing, fluid, flexible, adaptable muscle. I believe in neuroplasticity. If you've never heard of that word before, please go Google it. I learned about it through Tara Swart. But neuroplasticity is the way that our brains can rewire itself. Just like we can rewire and recode code, you can rewire your brain to think, to believe, to act differently. You can create new neuro pathways in your brain just by making a different choice, to not think that anymore, to choose a different belief, to change your ideas about something, to let go of something. One of my therapists once said to me, she said, one of the most powerful questions I was ever asked, she said, who would you be if you didn't have that thought? It's the same as Marianne Williamson's beautiful poem, you know, who am I to be brilliant, fabulous, bold? That beautiful poem, I can't remember it off the top of my head. A wonderful way of seeing the brain is that you can wire it for change if you desire it. I also love the fact, and another quote that was, and I don't know who said it, but everything is created twice, once in the mind and then in reality. So when we're using our brains to worry, to create suffering in our body because we're reliving past experiences, or when we're imagining or catastrophizing in the future, like I did with my son when he was learning to drive, it's recognizing that our mind is creating images, that we can also choose other options. Our brains we can use our imagination for other outcomes. So rather than focusing on things of everything going horrendously wrong, we can also use our mind to focus on things going absolutely incredibly beautifully. It's like understanding that this beautiful office that I'm in now was once run down and old and looked awful, but I imagined it exactly like this in my mind. This beautiful dark blue with white ceilings and lovely bright colours and throws everywhere. I created that in my mind, and then I created it in reality. So we can either create a catastrophe or we can create a beautiful dream. Our minds are our most powerful assets, and it's what we're thinking of, the catastrophe or the brilliance at the end of it, that's going to change the way we act in the moment. If you're catastrophizing, you're going to stay where you are and stuck and play small because you're worried and protect yourself. Your brain will stop you. If you're focusing on all of the amazing things that could happen, you're going to start to take those tentative steps and inspired actions. You're going to be thinking from a different perspective of things going brilliantly right. So use your mind with an imagination that is supporting your future, not staying you stuck in the past. When we lift the lid on the mind again as well, I also love the mind-gut connection. Have you heard of that one? We didn't talk about it much yesterday in the foundational piece of health of body, but there is this wonderful connection between your mind and your gut. And you may have heard about this. It's talked about a lot in a lot of the health channels. But it's the vagus nerve. How our mind is connected to our gut and how our gut is connected to our brains, and how they send signals to each other, talking to each other. Our brain is going to say, I'm excited and I'm really, really happy, and therefore our tummies are going to be like, oh, that's good, everything is fine, we're not worried about anything. When our mind is stressed and overwhelmed and puts us into that stress response, it's going to go down into our guts and it's going to switch off digestion, because it's going to say, we're not going to be eating anything because there's a lot going on at the moment, so we're very, very stressed and we're running from this and we're doing that. We don't have time to eat, so don't worry about it. I used to struggle really, really badly from IBS, and I know that that's what was happening. I was struggling from IBS because I was so stressed in my mind, worrying about what was happening and what was going to go wrong. I lived in an environment where I was constantly looking for things that were going to fail, because that was my job, to make sure that they didn't. So my stomach was like constantly turned off, so nothing was working in my stomach, leaky gut, etc. I could never lose the baby weight. When I started to master my mind and calm my mind, I calmed my stomach. And when my stomach is calm, my brain is calm. Beautiful connection here. And it's so important that our stomachs and our digestion is switched on, because that is going to boost our immunity. We talked about that yesterday in the health of our body. Looking after our gut is so important for the health of our physical body. So once again, look after your mind, you'll look after your gut. Look after your gut, you're going to look after your mind. Because if you're not digesting well, that's going to cloud your judgment here in your brain. It's often why people get brain fog. There's a beautiful connection there between the mind and the gut. Let's take that one step further. If you know your human design, you're going to know that your sacral, if you've learned about the chakra system, the Kundalini chakra system, your sacral is also related to your gut, and your sacral is your fire. Your sacral is your feminine flow. It's creativity. It's the birthplace of productivity. It's about using that beautiful sacral energy and trusting in your gut instincts to know how to move forward. And I said the word there, where I truly believe that peace of mind comes from, is trust. Can you trust yourself to know the answers, to find the path? Can you trust yourself to let go of your mind and trust in your gut instincts? I do believe that the most profound peace I've ever felt has come from when I've learned to let go. When I've let that dog let go of the bone and just fully trust in my gut, in myself, in knowing that I will know the answers. It's about moving away from having to know every single step and every single path and every single footstep and every single strategy, of needing to know the how, the why, the what, the when, the who. Can I let go of all of that and just trust that I will know in the moment? I'm working with a client at the moment who is really not happy where she is at the moment. And we've been talking around this concept so much. And it's recognizing that she is here and she wants to be here. And it's about building this bridge across. And she doesn't necessarily know what's on the other side, or how long it's going to take her to build that bridge to get to the other side, or what's going to happen when she gets there. You know, what happens when you've crossed over that river? What are the roads and where are those paths leading? Can you let go of the need to know? Can you just trust that in the building you'll start to see what's coming? You don't need to see the full picture and the full path ahead. Can you just trust and know that every step that you take, and trust in the moment that you'll know? Can you trust and let go of that pressure to know all of those answers? Can you let the brain, with the dog of the bone, let go of the bone and just trust that there's a piece of steak that's coming? That's how I love to see it. Can you trust in a path that you can't see? Can you trust in a future that you don't know will absolutely happen, but can you play in the imagination of the wonder of what could possibly be? Because this is going to lift your spirits and relieve that pressure from you. One of the most powerful tools that helped me with this was knowing my human design. And I could look back at my life and recognize when I fully trusted myself, I was actually acting in alignment with the way in which I was meant to make decisions. Trust and peace of mind. When I saw my human design chart, giving me the map of how all of my energies flow through all of my different chakra systems, maybe see that I have a defined chakra mind and a defined gut, a defined sacral. And often these two were in conflict. And actually I'm a split definition. So I often felt that my logical brain, which was so certain about things, was in absolute conflict with my trust, with my joy, with my fuel, with my desire, with my creativity, with my flow. I was part masculine, part feminine in equal measures, and both were fighting. But when I allowed the two to come together, when I allowed my trust and my heart to lead me and what my soul knew that I was meant to be doing, and allowed my brilliant brain to pave the way of how, rather than the other way, rather than letting logic lead and trying to get my heart and my soul behind it, always fighting, always in conflict. When I let the two walk hand in hand, that's when beauty happened. Because when I look back, you know, it made absolutely no sense for me to leave my incredible career that I loved, that I was doing so well in, but still no longer work for me. It made no sense for me to walk away from that. It made absolutely no logical sense to stay in a relationship and a marriage where I'd been so hurt and where every single person told me their story of why I should not. It made no sense for me to close down 2 multiple 6-figure businesses and start up new ones and close them down. But I did because I trusted my sacral, because I knew there was something better. I was going to let go of the bone in order to eat the juicy steak, and then let go of that steak and have another one. It was understanding that it was always going to be something better. And that trust that there was always something better, and using my brain with its beautiful imagination, is how I created that beautiful mind. Rather than thinking dark thoughts and negative narrative, I started to think of beautiful ideas. And that's not necessarily to say that I was going to be sitting in toxic positivity. I'm not saying that at all. I'll take you right back to the concepts of mindfulness. This was always accepting that the situation was what it was. It was being aware of it. It was forgiving it. It was honoring the past. It was taking that wisdom. It was using all of that and using it to be enlightened in order to take the path forward, but not to stop me. Never to stop me. To always keep going. Trust gave me this peace of mind. Trust in what I couldn't see. Trusting that the path hadn't yet been written, but I got to create the path, and trusting that I could create the path. Believing in myself. Being so convicted in what I was here to do. That's what I fed my mind. I've completely rewired how I saw joy. When I started joy and started thinking about joy as my mission, to help people be happy, to help people on a path when they're not feeling so great, help them to bring love and joy to walk that path. So many people just said, well, nobody pays for joy. I was like, well, is that really true? And so I changed the narrative, because I don't believe that joy is a nice to have or a luxury or fluffy or a nice to have as an icing on the cake. To me, joy is foundational of life, of living a beautiful life. Joy, and the more I've focused on joy and the more I've amplified my joy, I've accelerated my success in every single area of my life in super fast time. I first declared myself a joy coach in 2024. I first declared that I was using human design in my business and really using it as a powerful tool at the beginning of this year in 2025. And since then, everything has been happening on warp speed. Every time I come back to joy and to love and to what I love and trusting in it and my human design, magic has been happening. And it's been feeling so good in my body, and I haven't been feeling that failover, or I have been so aware of when the failover has happened that I can go back in and I can use my human design chart and say, where's the bit that's failing over? Which piece of my code do I need to really look at? And that, I believe, is what's happened to make it so fast. It wasn't like searching for a needle in a haystack. It was bringing the concepts of mindfulness to understand what was feeling sticky, what was feeling stuck, how I was feeling it, honoring it, and then saying, right, and there it is. That's the little nuance that I need to tweak. That's what I need to change. I'm talking about a beautiful mind here. What's going on in your beautiful mind? This is a foundational piece, in my opinion, for joy. These two pieces, health of your body, peace of your mind. To me, these are so important foundational pieces in order to create a life of joy. And what I would love to ask you is, based on the concept and how I introduce this whole joy power up, it might be that you don't have very much joy in your life at the moment, and can you put some joy in by understanding the stories and the concepts and the codes that I've given you today? Can you start to put some peace of mind in? And if you don't know how, please do come and join me in the Telegram channel that I've opened up for anybody who's taken themselves through this power up. There's a link in my bio. Please find me in the comments below. I'd be so happy to share that with you. Come in and have the conversation. We've been having conversations about yesterday. We're going to amplify those conversations about mind as well today. If you do have joy and you are happy, but you know that there's something a little bit more, is this the dial that you want to turn up the heat on? Because this was something I really wanted to turn the heat up on as well. It was the reframe of joy. It was the reframe of what is my belief about joy. I'm not going to take the code of somebody else who's told me that joy is fluffy or no good. I'm going to say no, because that has not been true for me. That's not my belief. That's your opinion. I'm going to form my own opinion on this. And I want to tell everybody that joy is the super attractor for success on your terms. Human design has been the most powerful tool for me to help me understand me and my energy and my joy, and how I've amplified it and pinpointed exactly what I needed to change quickly. For you, if you look at your human design chart, and I urge you to go and download it. There's a free link again on my website. If you need that, please let me know. It will teach you how you can download it and give you an introduction to human design. But you'll see if you have an undefined mind, so my triangle in my mind is defined. I can be 100% certain on my mind. I've got the capabilities of taking a lot of information in and deciphering it and being like that computer. Everybody has the capacity to do that. But if you've got an undefined mind, you may also be this incredible sponge for everybody else's opinions and their thoughts and their beliefs. And you've got to learn how to filter out the noise. How you can use your oh goodness sake, gracious. I always find that word so hard to say. Your reticular activating system, which is basically your filter, so that you don't get overwhelmed by so much. And ask yourself, what do I want to see my life through this lens of? Your reticular activating system. I'm going to call it the RAS for ease, because I can't keep saying it. You want to prime your RAS with the filter of how you want to see yourself. What do you believe? I believe that joy is the best thing that you can use. It's the best strategy for success. That's what I believe. That's what I've primed my brain to believe. Just like I said, your mind is either going to fire you up or it's going to fire you the fuck up. Sorry, it's going to fuck you up or it's going to fire you the fuck up. It's about learning how you can use your brain to make it do either one of those. Which ones do you want it to do? How beautiful is your mind? Do you like spending time in your mind? You've seen that quote out on the internet. Make it a beautiful place to be, because we hang out in our minds. Wherever I go, there I am. There's another one for you. I'd love to share that. I remember, and I've worked with so many people who've said, oh, I just need to get away on holiday. I'm really not enjoying my job, etc., etc., etc. The minute we start to work on their life and adding in beautiful love and joy into their life, they're like, oh, I don't need a holiday anymore. Because wherever you go, there you are. Your mind will always go with you. It doesn't matter whether you're on a beautiful sandy beach in the Caribbean. Your mind, your thoughts, your hateful thoughts, your narrative, your beautiful mind will be with you wherever you go. Make it a beautiful place to be. Helen says she's a manifester. Yeah, no, you are very rare. So 20% of the population is a manifester. So you are like our Wright brothers. You are here to lead that vision and the things that we can't see. So when we're talking about that bridge, you're not even going to know. You've just got to trust that you're going to be able to build it, and it's going to be amazing for everybody. Right, so let me finish this. I hope I have given you lots of food for your thought. If yesterday was talking about food for your plates and what's on your plate, today we're thinking food for your mind. We're thinking about the beautiful mind. What is going on in the beautiful mind? I want to make that invitation to lift the lid on your mind. What's going on? What are all the beliefs, ideas, opinions that you've got in there that are holding you where you are, especially if you want to make a change? Or what are those thoughts in there you can massage or change or adapt so that it can be a much more beautiful way to live? Turn up the heat, dial up the knob, put some more peace of mind in there. Now, I've spoken to you about the Love Club. The Love Club is my membership. It's 12 months. It's got all of my programs when it comes to meditation and mindfulness. You can come in and join that at any point in time. It's a 12-month experience. You've got my whole back catalogue. I want you to think of it as like Life Flicks. It's like Netflix, but it's all about life. It's all of the programs that I have created, all of the trainings that I have created over the last 7 years on my transition through health coaching, through mindfulness, through meditation, through life coaching, through love coaching, through business coaching. It's all in there, and you have access to it like Netflix. You can just choose whatever you want to watch, whatever you want to listen to. And every week we have a wonderful conversation about a particular topic. And we have a conversation about what everybody's working on, or they're saying, do this, do that, go here, do that. And you can come and ask me questions. That's the Love Club. I've spoken a bit about human design today and how it has been so incredibly pivotal in helping me understand myself, my energy, my thoughts, my beliefs, where I've been conditioned, where I've been taking on the thoughts and beliefs of other people, where I've taken on the energies of other people, and how I've released everyone else's. It's how I've amplified my joy. It's how I've amplified my love and done it my way. When I talk about success on my terms, it's been using human design that has helped me understand me in my uniqueness, understand my brain, my gut, my soul, everything. Human design, you can come in and work with me. I love it. I've taken courses in it. I've now created hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of human designs for all of my clients in the past 4 years since learning it. And every single time, everyone has gone, wow. It's like someone has pulled back the curtain and I've actually seen who I truly am, and I knew it all along. I just didn't see it. To me, it's pulling back the curtain on showing you how brilliant you truly are. Human design gets you to see that and helps you use it. It gives you the permission slip. It gives you the confidence to be who you're truly meant to be. You're not meant to be like anybody else. You can use it for your health. So if everybody else is running marathons, you get to do yoga because that's who you are. Like as a manifestor, Helen, you should really do yoga because you need that quietness for all of these wonderful ideas to come in. If you're a manager, you're meant to be doing lots and lots of different things. You're not meant to be here to do one thing. Generators, you're here to be the masters. It's just a wonderful way of understanding how you can apply it to your work and how you can apply it to your health and how you can apply it to your relationships. When it comes to work, I use human design all the time. The reason I'm doing lives is because I have a defined throat chakra with pretty much every single one of my gates switched on. I can't tell you the time because I won't know the time ahead of time. I have this one channel from my G center that is all about the channel of rhythm, and it's not about knowing it ahead of time. It's just like drop in, the time is now. The time is now. The time is now. Just like I knew it was time to stop my launch. It was like, stop the launch, do something different. Now is not the time. And I fully trusted myself when my team were like, what are you doing? I was like, trust me. I trust me. It's how I've learned to trust myself. So I can use it in my business. But really, the most powerful thing that I've helped understand is using human design alongside the people I work with and the people I live with and the people that I love. Understanding how my energy is so wildly different to theirs, but also understanding the synergies. What made us fit together initially also is where we also have those tensions, but seeing that and understanding how that works and how you can do that. Awareness is everything. Go back to mindfulness. Awareness is everything. When we've got the knowledge, we can use it to be the most powerful thing. So human design, you can come and do that one-to-one with me. You can do that with UNHD, which is working with me one-to-one. I'll do your full report. I'll do your full analysis. Or if you're much more of a group and you want to learn and you want to use this in your own business for your clients, and if you're more of a practitioner, or if you just want to understand it so that you can understand your husband, your partner, your children, your colleagues, let me teach you all of the concepts of human design, but also we're going to start to integrate it. And we put it through the filter of everything that I talked about today. How you can use it in your health, how you can use it for your work, how you can use it for your relationships. It's where I bring all of me. I bring every single part of me to the table. You get my health coaching knowledge, my meditation knowledge, you get my life coaching, my relationship coaching, you get my mentorship when it comes to business and building businesses to multiple six figures and creating net worth of, I don't like to talk about money on the internet, but if that's your thing, I get to talk about that behind the scenes as well. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I would love to deepen this conversation. Come and find me in the Telegram channel. What's going on in your beautiful mind? Let that be the question that resonates with you for the remainder of today. Make it a beautiful place to be, because wherever you go, there you go too. Lots of love. Thank you for being with me.